Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about this Vortex Defender Solar Enclosed CCW. I currently have this mounted on my brand new Sig Sauer P365 DH3AXG. And yeah, I realize both of those things have really long names, and it's pretty important that you remember specifically that name because Vortex likes to make a lot of things with similar names. So very specifically, this one is the Defender Solar Enclosed CCW. I've had this mounted for a little over a month, and there's a lot of things I do like about it. For the price point, I think it's a pretty good value optic, but I want to really break it down and explain the pros and cons I've had with it personally, and ultimately, at the end of the video, why I will not keep it on this firearm. So this right here comes on a Shield RMSC footprint. It's pretty common for a lot of carry optics. And let's talk about the overall size of this thing real quick. It does come in at 1.1 inches tall, 1.6 inches long, and 1.2 inches wide. And we will talk more about the size of this later because that might be one of the factors of why I'm not keeping it on this particular firearm. As far as what this is made of, it is 77.5 aluminum and does have their fast rack texture on the front right here, which, you know, is a pretty cool concept should you need to rack it off the table, something like that if you're in a situation. I do like that. It makes it look a little bit more rugged, and it definitely adds a different style to the optic. Now, they do claim that this is waterproof, fog-proof, and shock-proof. I have not tested any of that stuff yet. As far as the glass is pretty clear, but I will say it does have a slight blue hue to it. I know some people that bothers, and for me, I don't really notice it all that much. It's not a deal breaker for me per se. Now, this reticle here, this is pretty cool. It is a multi-reticle. It has a 3 MOA dot and a 32 MOA circle. Now you do have the option, let me see if I can zoom this in for you guys, where you can have both, either, or none. And I'll be honest, when I first tried it, I thought I was gonna like the circle dot with the MOA ring around it, and it seemed a little bit crowded for me personally. I ended up just swapping that off and just going with the 3 MOA single dot. Very crisp dot. It worked very well. And I think that's what I'm going to stick with. It is rather simple on how you adjust that. You just have to hold both of these plus and minus buttons down. And I will say for my sausage hands, didn't really work as easy. I had to try it multiple times to actually get it to swap. I feel like I kept hitting one or the other first. The buttons themselves look rather large, but the actual button underneath that rubber is quite small. So trying to get both my fingers on there at the same time didn't really work as well as I thought. I've used other optics in the past that had similar systems where you could rotate through reticles, and that seemed to be better on other optics. So I don't think that will apply to everyone, but I think it's worth mentioning. As far as the buttons go, though, they do have a positive click. It is audible. I don't know if you can hear that on my mic. Seems like the positive has a slightly more audible click to it than the negative, but they work well. I can't say I have any complaints about them. This does come with 12 brightness settings. 10 of those are daylight, 2 are for night vision. And the battery life, let's talk about that. One thing that often appeals to me personally when I get an enclosed emitter is I like the feature that you have the battery accessible where you don't have to swap or take the optic off to swap a battery. Now the battery life for this does say 35,000 hours without the solar feature, because up top here does have a mini little solar panel. Now with the solar feature engaged, it says it has 150,000 hours. So I guess that really depends on you and how often you shoot where that solar charger is going to actually work. Kind of works for me living in Florida, shooting outdoors. I guess it will get more sun than, you know, someone who's just shooting inside in the dark room all the time. So I guess time will tell to see how true that is for the battery life itself. But I think it's a cool feature. Is it gimmicky? Possibly. It is motion activated. I think that's pretty cool. And it does shut off after 10 minutes. I think one of the big critiques about Vortex optics in the past is that they would stay awake on for a extended period of time. As far as the adjustments, this is gonna be one of those things where I kind of bring up a concern for me. So it comes with this tool, which we'll talk about more later when we talk about what's in the box. The tool is quite large, and I mean, it works for both getting into the battery door and doing the adjustments as well. But for me, an issue I had was, so on the one side here, you can adjust left or right. You will notice, and this could just be this specific optic. I don't know if this is all of them. I only have, a sample size of one here. Adjusting left to right, there's a very slight tactile feel, very soft audible sound. Now, when you go to the other turret to adjust up and down, this almost has no feeling whatsoever when making adjustments. No sound, no nothing, but you can obviously, based on the size of that, you can see that you're adjusting it. Versus some other optics I've reviewed in the past where you're just putting a tool down there and you're just kind of spinning. You can't really tell whether or not it's engaging or not. This, you can actually see that turret physically moving, so you're making adjustments. But there's no feeling or sound to that. That to me, when it comes to optics, I get pretty annoyed with that, honestly. I want to know when I'm making adjustments. I want to know I can make a fine adjustment. I don't want to have to guess. So for that, that's definitely something that kind of bothered me. I'm not going to lie. Now, let's talk about what's in the box real quick, and then we'll talk about things I don't like about this. So where I really think this thing does shine is the value. I personally, I consider this more of a budget optic. Some of you may disagree with me, but for me, that's where it falls. What you get in the box here, in a kind of, I think they did a lot of good things here. So in the box, you get a 1 degree shim plate, you get their custom tool, you get a rubber cover, you get a ton of mounting screws. They basically should have almost every single optic covered in there. I didn't read each and every one, but they have a ton of it. You obviously get your CR2032 battery, and you get an extended T10 Torx bit, which you really do need for when you're actually mounting this thing. So you guys can see here, the actual screws sit really close to that glass. And I can't remember who it was, but I do remember one video I was watching about this where someone did not use that specific extension tool. And when they went to put this on their gun, they cracked that glass because the glass is so close to where that screw is. So definitely don't lose that piece and absolutely use it when you're mounting this. I think it's cool that it comes with it because it's definitely needed. It's definitely something I'm going to save for other optics that may need that in the future if they don't come with that. So also, I didn't miss one thing in here that I thought was really cool was the Picatinny mount that you get. You can mount this optic directly onto that, and you can mount it to undo anything with a Picatinny rail. I think that's really cool. A lot of other companies sell things like that, and they're not cheap. So to get that right in the box, whether or not you use it or not, it's pretty cool to have that because it's for the RMSC footprint. So you don't need to use it for this optic. You could use it for any other optic you have that has that footprint. Again, going back to the value side of it, I think it's pretty cool that's included. Now, to talk about things I don't like about this. And I'm going to be referring to mostly the setup I have on this firearm because that's how I've used it so far. Two things that don't really work for me. And again, strictly with this firearm, but I can see how this may relate to other firearms, and I think it's worth mentioning. The deck height is rather tall. I know there are optics that have bigger deck heights, but if you want to co-witness and you have a carry gun that has smaller irons, which is kind of the new normal for a lot of carry guns is to come with low profile irons, that's going to be an issue if you want to co-witness. The other thing I don't like, and let's see, probably to get some close-up B-roll for you guys for this, but you will notice this optic hangs off both sides pretty good amount. I believe the slide on the 365 is 1 inch. This is 1.2 inches, and you got a little bit of overhang. Is that a deal breaker for most people? Probably not. For me, I don't like it. I know a lot of guns, especially like 2011s, it's a very common thing. For me, aesthetically, I don't like it. But also, the thought of that getting caught on something, you know, if you're drawing from the waistband, is that going to get caught up on a shirt, or is that going to create an issue for you? Potentially. So, for those two reasons, unfortunately, I'm going to have to change this optic onto another firearm where I kind of eliminate both those. I think if I put this on my CZ Shadow 2, I'll be all right. That has taller irons and the slide's a little bit wider. But ultimately, would I say, is this worth it? I think it is. I think it's a great optic. It's with all the features you get, you know, so far for me, it's held up great. Obviously, I will need to have this longer and shoot it more to see a long-term review. And you guys let me know in the comments below. Do you want to see a long-term review on this? But I think that's probably where it's going to end up. And we are still in the hunt for the proper optic for this firearm here. I've kind of narrowed it down to 2. I'm not going to tell you which 2. You guys will have to wait and see on which one ends up getting here first. And then we'll go with that. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, something I may have missed about this specific optic or even this firearm, which I do have a dedicated review coming on, let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, I do appreciate you tuning in. And before the video ends, just to let you guys know, yes, this was safe, free, and clear. I know that's a big thing on YouTube, but let me know what you guys think. Peace.